Hello, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. Today I'm hanging out with Connor, and Connor has a really cool DIY RAM ProMaster campervan conversion he built out himself. It has so many details inside, you gotta come join us.
Hey guys, my name is Connor. This is my RAM ProMaster. He's a 3500 159-inch wheelbase extended. Come on in, I want to show you inside. All right, so welcome inside. Let's give you guys a little brief tour first, and then we'll get into some specifics. Up front, we got the cab. Nothing too special going on there. Back here, we got bike, microwave, toilet. We'll get into that. Got tons of storage up here. Ooh. Got the Lagoon swivel table, everyone's got that. And then this is my bed, couch, chill out area. And this is Harry, my best buddy. So I got into van life because I was living in San Francisco. I was doing this corporate hustle. I've always had this dream of moving to New York. And when the pandemic hit, I decided, let's build a van and get out of here. It was like my big break to take some time to myself and learn how to do all this. This thing was an empty cargo van when I started. I had absolutely no idea how to build any of this. I mean, I built IKEA cabinets. So it was all a learning process. But one of the messages that I want to show in the video is if you have a dream and you have some time to learn, then you can do it. Anybody can build something like this. I started out my journey in August, traveled across the country, had this incredible adventure, got to see the wolves of Yellowstone and the canyons in Utah and all this cool Frank Lloyd Wright architecture in Wisconsin. Got to New York in November, and I've been living full-time in New York City in this van. So as I was building the van, it was really important to me to make it both ready for city living and then to feel as much like an apartment as I could. So that was sort of the design approach. So everything is pushed back as much as I could, and I tried to create lots of clean linear lines and then put systems in so I could live in this thing full-time on the road. So let's get started up in the front. Go down there. So this is the front. There's nothing too special. It's pretty standard cab up here, although the seats do swivel, but I don't actually use them all that much, mostly because Harry here takes this one, and so it's always a process to clean it off. But they do swivel. And then I got this insulated curtain. It's black on the front side, and that helps keep it a little stealthier at night. Nobody can tell that I'm in here at night. So it keeps it nice for city living. And then I have this mega cabinet. This was one of the last things that I made when I was doing the van. And up front, it's got a microwave and a mirror. Down here, I've got my bicycle. It's a folding bicycle and comes out on these 300-pound drawer slides. I love this thing. It's gorgeous. It's really easy for cities. And it's nice that you can bring your bike inside. And one of the nice things about making a van yourself is you can design the cabinet any way you want. So here I made this shelf, this door rather, to fit so I didn't have to take the back satchel off. It's purposely shaped like that. And then down here, we got the composting toilet. So again, slides out. I love this thing. You don't realize how nice it is to be able to use the bathroom in your van until you have something like that. And because it's composting, you empty the liquids every couple days and the solids every couple months. It's actually really great. And then we got the mirror. So this was the original mirror, and I realized you have to bend down to see your head. So I put a shaving mirror up here so you can see yourself. But like I said, this is my everything cabinet. It was where I squeezed everything that I hadn't put in yet in the van. Got an isotherm fridge. This runs on DC power, and it's super efficient. I love this model because it has a full width freezer. So the doors that swing out, for some reason they only do half-size freezers, but you can fit a ton of food in here. And then every door in here is on a magnetic latch. So you just hold the magnet, and I don't know if you can get a picture of that, but it undoes itself. And then we got a gray tank down here, a little expandable shower pan, in a pinch, although most of the time I just shower at the gym, and some storage. This tank is great at 7 gallons, and you hit a switch and it dumps itself. The switch is right up here. and you can kind of hear it queuing on, and it'll start to dump itself when you're in a responsible place to do that. And then got some USB outlets here, and also have the pump for the sink on a switch. And you want to do that because if the water runs low, then the pump will just keep trying to pump itself and it'll burn itself out if you don't have it on a switch. Same on this side. Got all these drawers on these magnetic latches. So got silverware, peripherals, all my toiletry stuff. It's probably more than I need. And then Harry's favorite door with the dog food, and also got some garbage down here. Don't forget to put a space for garbage in your van. People leave that to the end. Got, you know, knives and aluminum foil. Got this thing, which I love for the dog.
Here's the story. Welcome.
That was my Alexa. I guess we said something. So this Govee switch tells me what the temperature is for the dog, so I can make sure that he's okay. If I'm away, I can cue in remotely and see it. Oh man, I love this drawer. I have a coffee grinder, very important. I make coffee using an AeroPress every day, and then have a blender. So you can make smoothies, make soup, lots of stuff with that. And then finally, got an induction stove here that plugs in, runs off the battery system, and pots down there. Everybody loves a little pantry, so I keep all my extra goodies in here, including a tea kettle. And maybe you're wondering, like, where do you plug all this stuff in? The outlets for this van are all here in the sink. So it's easy. I usually set up my stove or my blender or the coffee grinder right here. Just plug it in and get everything going. And then I left all of this for storage. So one of the things I tried to do in this van was put all the systems in the bench area and then leave everything else for storage. This is all storage. Up here is all storage. So on this side, I have clothes, and I put everything in these bags. Makes it really easy to stay organized and things don't shift around the road. So it's just clothes all the way down. And then on this side, we got dishes. And then there's some peripherals that I don't use all the time, but I keep them down there. One of the things I've learned on the road is, like, I left with 4 plates and 4 bowls and 4 cups, and you don't actually use that all the time. So now it's all stored, and I actually only use this side. One of the cool things I did with these cabinets is I built this fabric backer, and it's insulated with Thinsulate. And it pushes up into the corners of the van, and it really creates a lot of space, because if you're building a cabinet, you have to square off the back. But by doing this, you have all this space, and you can really push things all the way into the corner. So you end up getting a lot more real estate out of these cabinets. And then on the ceiling, you know, I wanted to make it feel a lot more like an apartment, like a cozy space, and the slats on the ceiling weren't my favorite thing, so I went with these full plywood sheets. This is 1/4 inch, and underneath the ceiling and then in all the walls and behind the cabinets is half-log wool. So it's all natural, it breathes really well, it takes in moisture and lets it go really well. It's great. And then got these fans up here, your Maxair fans. They're on remotes, so you can do it from bed if you're feeling lazy. And these awesome covers are from Van Made Gear, and they cover the windows and the fan tops, and really helps keep the heat in. So you can see these down here. This one I store down here, but they also attach magnetically to the windows. So all you have to do is let them snap in place and they stay there. It's just nice so you don't have to find a place to store them. So up here, this is one of those challenging areas to build in a van. But I found these, so I built this backer piece, and then I found these hooks at IKEA that match the finished plywood really well. And here I decided to turn this area into a shelf. A lot of people will just cover this over, but since there's already a big window here, it's not like this area is that well insulated anyway, so why not turn it into some storage? So I keep gloves and bags for the grocery store, and there's an umbrella down there. And then during the summer months, I have a T-vent window here from CRL, and it opens to create ventilation. So once you get the fans going and then you open this, you get a really nice cross breeze in here. So for the countertops, These actually come from IKEA, and they're butcher block on the outside. It's like I think it's like a 2 millimeter thick veneer, and they've held up really well. They look nice, and they're a lot more lightweight than butcher block from Home Depot, because the inner core is like a particle material. So down here, this is one of the cool parts of the van. I curved this wood, and that allows it to curve around this corner to keep the profile pretty thin. And then there's no screws on the outside, you can see. So this is actually held on to the van by magnets. There are 3 high-powered magnets in there keeping it in place. Same with like this. A lot of people will put the fridge out here and it sticks out to the front of your countertop. I wanted everything to be flush. That was important to me. But to make the fridge recess in there, I had to route out a groove to accommodate the flange of the fridge. Yeah, so if you're under here, you can kind of see it. And then that meant I wasn't able to screw the countertop in. So up here, the countertop is actually held in by magnets, and it's held in by screws back there. And that creates this nice clean look where if you're looking, the sight lines down the van are straight down and helps keep it open. And then when you're building a van, every inch is precious, right? So normally under a cabinet like this, you just have wasted space, toe kick space. But instead I built drawers, and you can kick any of these open for storage. So under every cabinet, I've got rags down here, I have a scale and some tools, and my glasses down here. Under this carpet, we have engineered vinyl floor. It's nice, it has like a texture to it, so it feels like real wood. And then there is radiant heating underneath the floors. I seldom actually turn it on. Usually the carpet keeps my toes toasty enough. Let's see, what do we got going on up here? So I decided to build a shelf up here because I had a little bit of extra space and you don't want to waste any. Got this vacuum, which is like key when you decide to have a dog in a van. Lots of hooks. You can never have too many hooks in a van, but these just come from IKEA, and they serve me well. Hello, hey. Got the Berkey. If you want good tasting water, definitely invest in a Berkey. They're a little bit pricier, but they make water taste amazing. And a lot of people will put them over the sink, and then you're like putting your glasses into the sink to get water. So I decided to build a stand for it so it was elevated. And like I said, I'm really into Frank Lloyd Wright. There are a lot of little accents in here inspired by him, and he blended a lot of square and circular geometry, and that's what inspired me to put the holes in the side of the water holder, along with this etching up here that's also inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright. So these circles and squares and circles and squares kind of echo each other. Up here, this is like a curved area of the van that's hidden by the cabinets in the back, but it's hard to deal with. So I decided that a little green accent with the plants would be nice. And that also helps obscure some of the structure. And then got some good storage. This is actually meant for a bathroom, but it fits perfectly here in the kitchen space. You know, just keep spices and vegetable bags. So we got lights all throughout the ceiling, and also lights that run along underneath the cabinet, and it makes a big difference. When you don't have lights underneath the cabinet, it seems a little unidirectional, right? Like it seems a little bit more closed in. One thing I did in this van was connected everything through the internet. So these lights are on a remote that all runs through the Wi-Fi, and you can cycle through different colors. You can make them bright green if you want to, but I like to keep them at this sort of neutral yellow. And then this thing I'm really proud of. This is another Frank Lloyd Wright inspired element. It's a stained glass piece that I found online, but the way that it's built into the wall, it's actually like pushed into a hole in the wall, and then it's backlit with the frame I built, and just the engineering to make sure a thin piece of stained glass doesn't break while you're driving down the road in your earthquake machine is more complicated than people recognize, and I love this thing. And then back here got a fan. I put it right over my head to make sure that if it's really hot at night, you can blow it right on your head, along with the two in the roof for ventilation. And then we'll get into this more, but for a little security, especially because I'm in cities all the time, I have pepper spray up here. So if someone was trying to break in, I could grab that and defend myself and my little buddy. So speaking of when you're sleeping, it's really dark in here when the curtains are up. And so I decided to put the curtain behind us on a remote. So I can press a button from bed here, and the curtain moves itself, and that lets the light in the morning. And that way it doesn't feel like you're waking up in a cave. You don't have to get up out of bed just to create a little bit more natural light in here. All right, so what else do we got going on back here? We got the table. This is on a lagoon mount, swivels, you know, all over the place, and it's offset on the bottom. And what that means is I can be seated here and really doing all my work. And then something key about this van is I designed myself to be sitting here and to always be looking out windows. I have these windows, this window, the window and the slider door, and when the curtain is open, I have the windshield, and that helps make it feel really open because your perception goes outside and you see beyond the walls of your van, and that's part of why it feels open in here. So when this thing is not in use, it lives back here. It's like Harry's favorite thing to climb on. One thing that I did, also inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright and his time in the American Southwest, was inlays throughout the van. So this inlay, you buy it at a store and you route out a channel, and then you spend a lot of time gluing it in. And there's little mistakes that I don't mind showing off. Like here, I accidentally made the channel too big, but you know, it's all a learning experience. And again, like, this was my first time doing any of this, and I really want people to know they can do something like this too. And those inlays are replicated down here in the cubby holes. So we got them right around here, down here. These cubby holes, I rounded over the edges just so it's not, you know, a square. That would look kind of ugly, I think, but I think they look nice rounded over and shows off the plywood. And then this bench is all about systems and storage. So the systems are actually floating underneath and below everything else. Like under my butt, there's a bunch of electronics. Here are all of the batteries and electric systems, and all up in here are also electrical systems. But down here are cubby holes where you can store things. And since I'm in the cities all the time, I don't want to get outside of my van to get stuff. So as much as I could, I put storage accessible from the inside so that I don't have to be outside to get things either in the winter or on a busy city street. So we got a heater down here, but like computer storage is up here. And my blankets stay down here, but electronic stuff up here. And then, you know, random stuff down here. Then the other thing that was important to me was that all of the systems are accessible from bed. Like you don't want to get up and move all the way to the other side of your van to turn your heater on or to turn your inverter on. So the switch for the inverter is right here, the heater, got some USB outlets there, a cigarette lighter, and then the battery monitor down here. And I don't have to get up to make all that stuff work. Let's talk about the battery system and what keeps this thing powered. There are 370 amp hour batteries from Renogy, so 510 amp hours total. And then you can recharge those batteries with a solar panel on top. It's 320 watts with a 40 amp DC to DC charger, or the inverter can also be plugged in for shore power, though honestly I haven't used that. There's a 3000 watt inverter, so you can run, you know, a microwave, tea kettle, you know, blender, all your normal household appliances. Then there's also different voltage systems in here. So this wireless charging, that all runs off a 16 volt system I installed, versus the Alexa machine runs off a 6 volt system I installed. And you don't have to turn your inverter on to do all that. So that was really important to me. These lights run off 14 volts. So there are all these converters in order to make everything work without wasting energy leaving your inverter on, and it makes it a lot more livable. And then there's also a pretty high-tech security system here. I've got cameras on the back and cameras in the front. You can't really see this one, but it blends in with the black frame. But yeah, you can see that one up there. And they're just Amazon cameras. They're Blink cameras. I can check them from my phone. But Harry, this guy, he sets off the motion detection all the time, so I also installed door sensors on each of the doors. So if any door opens, I get a text message. And that way, even though he's setting off the motion detection on the cameras, if somebody breaks in and opens a door, then I would know that someone is breaking into the van. And then I have a temperature monitor I showed you. so that I can adjust the temperature. So between those three things, I'm always able to make sure he's at a good temperature, that he's safe. I can check in on him on the cameras, and that's all enabled through like a wireless hotspot that I pay for, but that stays on full time. It's underneath here in the van, and it also gives me wireless internet. So that enables the Echo machine, it enables the Philips light, and then opening the curtains. That's all through the wireless. So it's a full-time wireless network in here, and if you need to work on the road, I wanted to make sure that this van is able to do that. Let's talk about the bed. I'm sitting on 4 inches of high-grade foam, but the cushions, I actually had them ordered from India, and they're real leather. They're really nice. They're thick, and since I have a dog, you know, I just wanted something that was easy to clean, so you can wipe them down in a breeze. And then when I'm ready to go to bed, this table can dismount and it drops into this space. So that's more if I have a guest or something. To be honest, I also designed this rear portion of the bed to be the width of a twin, and then it's about 6'2" down, so I fit there fine myself, along with this guy. So most of the time I'll just lay down. I mean, going to bed is as simple as throwing a cushion on the floor and then putting the pillow down. But if I feel like rolling around or lounging, then I can drop this guy into this empty space. All right, so let's take a look at the systems. Underneath all of the leather cushions, we got these pads, and that just creates ventilation so that the leather isn't pressing against the wood, and you don't get any mold under there. Okay, you. So if you had to service something, toss that aside. And here's your sneak peek. Everything is on gas struts. So I'll take you through a walkthrough of all the electrical. We got a DC to DC charger that charges the battery when I'm driving, and you can switch that on from a switch I installed up in the front of the van. Here's the MPPT solar charger for the panel, and then here's the DC distribution. So this controls all the stuff on the DC side. And then on this side, we have all the internet stuff. So it's pretty sizable. I wasn't planning on building this, but I felt like I just needed more space in here. Here's the Philips bridge that controls the lights. It turns the light bars on and off. The mobile router, the Blink security system, and this is the SwitchBot system for the sensors on the doors. So in a nutshell, that's all the electronics. And again, like everything floats above my blankets and storage here, and I keep a computer here, but you know, all the wiring runs around and up here. Okay, now we gotta lift this one. Come on. So on this side, we got water systems. There's my computers down there, and that shelf lifts up and out, but we've got a 4-gallon Bosch water heater, and then a 30-gallon water tank. So effectively, just about 35 gallons of fresh water that you can keep on board, along with the 2.5 gallons you can store in the Berkey. Electrical runs all over the place here, and it all floats above the water. One thing I did when I was building this, my big build disaster was I had a small leak that turned into a little flood under the van when I was building, and it dried out and everything, but it freaked me out, so I waterproofed this whole container. So now if there's a leak, it just stays in there, and then there are sensors down there that buzz you if they detect water. They're meant for basements, but just in case, I'm not taking any more chances again. So yeah, I mean, I did this all myself, and I knew nothing. I took a electrical engineering course for free online to figure out how to do all this, and yeah, I had to study for 3 weeks, but anybody can learn how to do all of this. I mean, and you can do it yourself, and you can save yourself $10,000 if you put in a little upfront effort. So down here is the water fill, and I put it inside so that you don't have anyone messing with your water. Also, so it's not as obvious that it's a camper van from the outside, and it's easy. I usually fill up once a month or so. It's about how much 30 gallons lasts me. You notice I don't have a shower in here unless I do something makeshift with the sink, so that saves a lot of water. And I normally shower at the gym or at YMCA's. Yeah. Behind here, under this panel, I'm not going to lift this one up, but it's just laundry under there and tools and my ladder to get up to the roof. And we can look at it when we go in the back. And then back here, this one is not on a strut. It doesn't really need it, but that's the inverter down there. And there are a couple extra plugs if you wanted to plug more stuff in, but right now the inverter is mostly for the microwave, this water heater, and then the electrical outlets by the kitchen. All right, so now that you've seen the inside, let's take a walk outside, see what's going on. Put Mr. Harry up here, grab a jacket. That's where I keep so many jackets, and hop out. Okay, so I guess we could start with what's going on the roof. I like to think that I have one of the best planned roofs. I spent so much time measuring to get stuff up there. So we got the 320 watt solar panel. You can see it's kind of turned sideways and it sticks out a little bit over the edge of the van, but it doesn't really make a difference. It's got a Yakima storage box. It's actually meant for fishing, but it was low profile and long, so it fit really well. And then on the other side, there's a little roof deck up there that you can see from this side. And I always feel really wobbly on the telescoping ladder. So I built this little like latch, like hold for the ladder, and that helps it from swaying so I don't tip over either way when I'm doing stuff. And then you got the two fans up there. Got these Luminous boxes. It's my Instagram if you guys want to reach out. I especially would love to help if you're thinking about building a van or you just have questions. Totally let me know. I can open these if you want to see. This one, the door actually folds down and makes a table. So if I'm out, it's nice to eat outside. And just got like a ton of storage in here. Little BioLite campfire, extra, bags for the bike, tools, and then water stuff. Okay, so these boxes swing away. And then we got the back, so hello, hey. So when I'm ready to throw away laundry, I actually just reach behind my cushion at night and I throw it down in there. And then got a telescoping ladder. You all saw the inverter. Keep it right back there. And here's more of the water. So there is an outdoor shower down here. If you're, in the middle of nowhere, you can use that. And then a dump for the tank, just in case you need to empty it. You're like going on vacation or storing the van for a long time. You want to dump the tank so it doesn't freeze. And that's pretty much everything we got going back here. I put these panels in. I made these. It took a long time because they're fit into, the contours of the van, but they make it seem a little more homey and it matches the rest of the wood. And then I removed the factory netting. This is OEM, and just reinstalled it into the panel. Up here I did the same thing, but I put a little more storage up there. So cutting out that profile is also difficult, but it's nice to keep sweaters up there, and I keep some books up there. And then last but not least, the van is really heavy, so it was definitely necessary to do a suspension upgrade. So in the back there are Fox shocks, and then underneath there are also Sumo springs. So the two of them, that helps in the back. And then in the front are Bilstein shocks, and those are made specifically for the ProMaster. So the van is also lifted, it's 2 inches off the ground, and that helps with clearance. A lot of people do it because they put their gray tanks underneath the van and they don't want it to get bumped as they're going down the road. For me, it was just nicer to be a little bit higher off the ground. You get to see some more cool stuff. Got the brush guard on here, installed that myself. It was not fun, but again, you can do it. Oh, the other thing I did, which we can't see now, but is like my favorite thing, is I put lights up here. Spent so many hours crawling around underneath the van, but from the inside, you can queue it up with Bluetooth, and they run underneath the tires here and then all down the length of the van. So you can go down the highway and be like the purple demon or whatever color you want to be. They go up any color. Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time today to give us a tour of your beautiful creation. Can you tell us about maybe one of the biggest challenges you had building a van camper for the very first time?
I mean, first, thanks for coming and doing the tour. I think, honestly, the biggest challenge is just building the confidence to get going and making mistakes and realizing, like, you don't have to have a background in construction to do something like this. So for me, it was like, what kind of grade plywood do you use? Or how do you round over an edge or do an inlay like this? Or how do you do electrical or plumbing? And just knowing that there's a path, there's a way. And as long as you trust yourself, then just start exploring and experimenting and failing a lot. But you can do it. Like, for instance, the furnace. I mean, this is an S-Bar B1, and when I got it, first the instructions are in German. They send you a CD-ROM. Nobody has CD-ROM players, and you just kind of have to go with it. And installing it made me cry. You have to drill holes in the floor of your van. You have to route fuel lines and then wire all this stuff. And taking it out of the box, it seemed like there was no way I was not going to have to pay a professional to do it for me, but I did it. And that's like everything in the van. You learn and you run with it and do your best. And then the mistakes, they stick with you and they're kind of endearing. Like, I don't notice the mistakes every day. And I'm grateful that now I live in this thing that I know how to fix. And yeah, it's a special process and a journey.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about some of the challenges you had maybe transitioning from a house or apartment into a van for the very first time?
Yeah, and I was nervous about that, so I put all of this storage into it and I tried to make it as much like an apartment as I could. And then you get into it, and to be honest, it's not as much of a transition as you think it would be. I mean, it's different, but it's not like I'm always sitting around wishing that I could be back in an apartment. And I wish more people knew that. Like, this is an awesome, incredible way to live. And you won't miss your apartment once you're in it having the adventures.
It's that freedom of the road, being able to go wherever you want to.
Like, I got to wake up in Zion National Park and go on hikes and then come back and take naps whenever I want. And I got to watch the wolves working together in Yellowstone when I was driving through, and stop at Frank Lloyd Wright's ancestral home and check out his studio. I mean, all those things make the trade-offs worth it, which there's not that many. You got heat, you got food, I can use a microwave, like, we're good to go.
So now that the van is done, you did your big trip, you're living in this full time, what's next for you?
Yeah, I mean, I got to New York City, so that's always been a big dream. I've been hanging out in a beautiful part of Brooklyn. And next, I think, is I want to take all the skills that I learned and build another van. I definitely want to make one that's a little smaller. I actually feel like sometimes I have too much storage in here for me and for city life. And I want something that I can use for both some adventures on the weekends and city living. So this one's for sale right now. Definitely check me out on Instagram, Guy Who Goes, if you want to chat about it. I got myself a new studio space in New York to build. And yeah, I'm getting ready to go with that project.
Well, thank you very much for giving our viewers such a really in-depth tour of your van camper. There's so many details in this van. There's so much thought that went into. I would say the human hours building it is probably the same about the human hours thinking about it and researching and going online and ordering parts. So I really appreciate that tour. I'm going to link to your Instagram in the description so the viewers could hop over and check out their sale. Also, this is on the marketplace, so I'll make sure I link there as well so the viewers could click over and check out your ad. Well, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video, comment, share, and subscribe. subscribe. I'd love it, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Patrick.